Hey there everyone, how you all doing? Hope you're all okay. Ains here again with some more tuitional stuff for you to keep you busy, and me as well. So I thought for this one I would do something on playing over chord changes and how to make your phrases or lead playing sound relevant to whatever you're playing over. 'Cause it seems to be a common thing that comes up. Like, I suppose the best way to probably tackle this is to look, literally take it back to the bare bones. Let's look at a basic 3-chord blues, all right? Because the rules that I kind of show you in this, or the sort of things that I have figured out that work, are going to apply to playing over any chord structure. But we start with the 3-chord blues. That should give us a good starting point, all right? So just quickly before I get stuck into this, I'm tuned to concert pitch, and the guitar I'm using is I don't know what year it is, a Mexican Fender classic player Strat. That's all standard, apart from when I bought it second hand. The pickups have been changed to Dimarzio Virtual Vintage, so you can actually see that. But other than that, it's just, yeah, pretty standard issue, readily available guitar, and I'm just plugged straight into my Rift signature amp. So that's what I'm using. Okay, so let's get stuck into this. So how do you know which notes to target for the chords that you're playing over? Well, the simple answer is whatever phrase you play. I'll tell you what, I'll get closer so you can actually see what I'm doing. And there we go. Okay, I think that's all right, is it? Right. So if we're in the key of A, right. If we're doing like a blues in A major, so where you've got A major, D major, and E major. Okay. Right, so you're going to be playing all sort of. I'll kind of use that BB box thing I was doing on the last video I did. So right, so I'm going to use some major and some minor licks, but what makes it sound right and relevant is the note the last note of your phrase. So whatever note your phrase ends on, that's the one that has to be relevant to the chord you're playing over. All right, so I'm going to demonstrate that, and I've actually lined up on my computer at the side of me here a really basic kind of backing thing, just so you can actually hear, because obviously I can't play chords and do this thing all at the same time. I have got a loop pedal, but I've still not figured out how to use it, so I thought I'd do it this way. Right, so if we're playing over the A chord, right? Right. So you can play anything around there. Right, now all of that stuff it's all going to sound right because you're playing over the root chord of the sequence, right, which is A major. Right, now when I go to the next chord, which would be the 4-chord D, right, right, now that phrase there, I ended on that note, which is in the chord of D. All right. All right. And then when we go back to the A, I ended that phrase on that note, right? But when we, I suppose probably one of the most important ones, certainly when we're playing over a chord sequence like a 3-chord blues like this, a 1-4-5 thing. When we go to the 5 chord, that's the one that seems to kind of throw people quite a bit. But what you've got to do is whatever your phrase is doing, whatever notes it's using, you've got to end on a note that is relevant to this chord. Because if you don't, it's not going to sound quite right. It won't sound wrong, but it just won't sound, it'll sound sort of unfinished. All right, so what I'll do, I'm just going to set this. When I say backing track, I mean, trust me, I've spent 5 minutes putting this together. I've just played some chords on the keyboard. The most generic, I've not used any fancy chords, they're just basic major chords, just so you can hear which chord I'm playing over, right? So, please don't leave any horrible comments that say the backing track is awful. It took me 5 minutes, all right? Here we go. This is just for reference. Right, so we're in A. Here we go. So I'm ending that phrase on a note that's relevant to the A chord. Right, we're going up to the 4. Back to the A. 5. Right, that's just going to keep looping around if I leave that going. So in its most basic form, you don't, I suppose, each chord you play over, you just need to be aware of the notes of the chord you're playing over. And I suppose a little bit of theory can be quite handy in this area. Right, so if I'm playing over the 5 chord, for instance, hang on, let me just set this going. Alright, hang on. So if I'm actually going to do this on the fly while the video is running. Sorry about this, I should have done this earlier. Right, this should be the 5 chord. Right, here we go. So that's the E, right? Right. If I end that phrase, but I end it on that note, because that note is not in the E chord. Slightly out of tune guitar there. I need to resolve it. I need it to sound finished. All right. So I need to target that note. So I need to finish whatever phrase you're playing over the 5 chord. It has to have a note from the chord, from the E chord, at the end of it. So it's not what notes you're playing in your phrase. You can use whichever note. You can end on that note because that's in the E major chord. Again, slightly out of tune guitar. Sorry. So I'm just going to set this going again with the 5 chord. Right. Right. I'm going to play you a phrase that's not finished correctly. Here we go. Right. Again, it doesn't sound right because I'm using that note. If I finish using another note, hopefully that makes sense. So basically, it's all about whatever phrase you're playing. Just make sure it finishes on the note that's relevant to the chord, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you. So that's like a 3-chord blues over A, D, and E major. Right, I'm just going to do a quick example of a different chord structure, which will be E minor, G major, D major, and A minor. This guitar's really not in tune, is it? Oh well, you get the idea, it doesn't matter. Right, okay, so I've in the 5 minutes I spent, I actually did 2 chord structures, so here we go. So this is the other one. Now this is an interesting one, right? So we've got E minor. Right? Right, but when we go to G major, because it's the relative major to E minor, it's pretty much the same, you know, kind of pentatonic thing up there, right? When you go to D major, right, you've also got this note in. You can actually play, if you just play a D, right, you've also got this note, right? And then when we go to the A minor, you've got this note. So if I play an A minor here, it's actually quite hard. My fingers are too fat. So what you've got, if you look at the notes from all those chords, E minor, G major, D major and A minor, you've got, these are the notes you've actually got. Right, here we go. I'll start up here. Down here, I mean. Actually, do you know, I'm going to do that again. I'm actually going to start up here. The other way around. Right, okay. So you can use all of those notes. If you're playing over this chord sequence, you can use all of those notes. Right? But what makes the difference and what's going to make it sound like it's actually following the chords and not just some random kind of lead playing over the top, is this whole target note thing. Just making sure you're ending and you're targeting those chordal notes at the right points. Right, so I'm just going to play this really well put together backing track, and I'm going to play just using the minor pentatonic without those 2 extra notes in. Okay. Okay, so it doesn't sound wrong, you know, all those notes still fit, but because I'm not really paying attention to the chords, I'm not sort of picking out certain target notes to accentuate that chord, it kind of just gets a bit, after a while it's just a load of notes. It doesn't really say anything, it doesn't go anywhere, it's not very melodic. Whereas if I point out those notes, which I'm going to do on this next example, here we go. Let's say it's going again. Right. So I'm going to use those 2 extra notes, which is basically this one, which is from the A minor chord, and I'm going to use this one, which is from the D major chord. Right. So I'm going to use those notes all the way through this now, but I'm actually going to use them and hang on them where they're relevant to the chord. So if I'm playing over an A minor chord, I'm going to use it as a target note. Right. Here we go. So by adding those two notes in, suddenly it's just a bit more tuneful and a bit more melodic. Now what you can do, because I'm adding those notes in for the whole thing, but say for instance I'm playing over the E minor chord, I can't end a phrase on that because it's going to sound wrong. So I can use that note, but I can't stay on it, right? If I'm playing over the A minor, I can stay on it because it's in the A minor chord. Right, hopefully this is all making sense and it's not too rambly, but you get the idea. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a third run through where I'm actually going to use those notes in the wrong way, okay? Just so you can hear what happens if you get it all mixed up. Right, this is actually going to be really hard to do, but I'm going to try. Okay, right, I've actually just realised something myself. You can hang on a note that's wrong, but you have to resolve it. So like, for instance, I was playing over the E minor there at the end. It's actually really hard to do this, to play it wrong. That sounds terrible to say, but, so if I'm playing over the the E minor chord, which I will just get this to ring out. Hang on. Right, there we go. Right, so this is the E minor. So I can stay on that note, but I have to resolve it. So yeah, it's one of those things where you've just kind of almost take those key notes from the chords. So if you're playing over the D chord, so that would be the G, right? When you go to the D, so we're playing over the G there. Then when we go to the D chord, right? Try and actually play bits of the chords, partial chords and stuff like that, you know. You can do that over the G. And when he goes to the D, so there you go. Hopefully that's given you something to play around with, keep you busy, at least experiment with over the coming weeks, however long this video stays up. So stay safe out there and keep playing, keep practicing. Any more ideas, suggestions of stuff you want me to cover on these little tuitional videos, let me know. But keep rocking and I'll see you soon. Cheers everyone, thanks.